post-apocalyptic world. So much gone. All the people left to die. I hope they forgive me. I try my best to rescue people, but enemies they spawn on top of me, and not enough iframes from boost to keep my ship from exploding. They're only humans, people I should say. Humans, but I will make mistakes. I try to keep a multiplier and power up my weapons all I can. And when I have run out of bombs, I will still be here to make my stand. They're only humans, people I should say. Humans, I will make mistakes. I am just a man. Humans. Humans. Shoot the Core Cast.
Welcome to Shoot the Corecast. This is the official companion podcast to the RF Generation Shmup Club. This is a family-friendly shmup-themed podcast that enjoys voxels in moderation. Voxels also a daily part of a balanced breakfast. I'm Addicted, also known as Addicted to Shmups, among other things. And with me, as always, is
MetalFRO, also known as Game Boy Guru. And if you would like to connect with the podcast, you can do so in a number of ways. You can follow us on X, aka Twitter, at ShootCoreCast. Follow me directly at Game Boy Guru. We're also on Blue Sky. Look for Shoot the Corecast there. Check our Linktree page for links to all the feeds. That is linktr.ee/shootthecorecast. And also there you'll find a link to our Discord server, which you should join, so you can play along with us month by month and talk shmups and discuss gaming in general. We've got a lot of lively conversation going on in the server and good community, so please come join us there. And also,
really quickly,
yeah,
I'm wondering, so if we've got X here, tweet, excrete, or whatever you want, but a direct message on there, what would you do for Blue Sky? You just say, hey there, Mr. Blue Sky?
No, I think on Blue Sky they call it skeeting.
Oh, well, it's much better than what I heard the first time, so I won't repeat this. Friendly.
But yeah, also follow me on Twitch to get notifications of new streams, because I do stream the Shmup Club game of the month multiple times each month. That is twitch.tv/GuruGameBoy. And before we dive into discussion, I wanted to mention, we have been doing this podcast now for
It's been
6.5 years.
Oh.
And almost 6.5 years. And we've been part of RF Generation. They've been hosting us, and it's been a good place to host the podcast and all of that. But the site has kind of become somewhat dormant over the years. It's as some of the leadership of the site has struggled to, maintain because of life stuff that happens and so forth. It's just harder to keep running. And anyway, I wanted to mention that there is definitely work going on in the background right now to spruce up the site. There's some new leadership handling the site. A long-term member that has been a faithful community member has taken over the management, and we're kind of assembling a team of people who are skilled and knowledgeable at development to try and rework the site's underlying code base and really modernize it and just make the site that much better. And so anyway, much like the web pages in the mid to late 90s with the under construction sign, the RF Generation site is going through some reconstruction right now, but they're testing a new development environment that we're hoping will be able to streamline the site and improve it quite a bit. And so anyway, the site is still there. It's still being updated all the time with new games and stuff for the database. But the actual content of the site is being worked on to update it. And there is a new challenge. A few years ago, we mentioned the NES 2019 challenge, where members of the site were attempting to play through the entire NES library during 2019. And they've resurrected that idea, and they're trying to do a SNES 2025. And so there are some folks in there on the forum and in the Discord, the RF Gen Discord, actively playing Super Nintendo games, trying to, play through as much of the library this year as possible. And so anyway, all of that to say, for those of you who haven't visited the site in forever, just know that improvements are coming, and the site is being worked on actively to try and refresh it, update it, and improve it.
Now, you're also telling me that we're changing hosting providers to GeoCities?
I said no such thing.
You said under construction. That is the hallmark of GeoCities, sir.
Well, if GeoCities was still a thing, I might consider it, but no, that has been long gone.
Oh, that's all right. I would need to replace my Netscape Navigator anyways.
Yeah, you probably do.
Well, at least I've still got 6,000 hours of AOL Online. All right, let's move on to Rolling Start. Here, let me start this. All right, let's get a rolling start on our Rolling Gunner discussion.
Yeah. I haven't been playing this as much the last couple of weeks as I would have liked. Time management has not been my friend here lately, but I have played it some this week. I finally started messing around with the blue ship, and I can't decide if it's my new favorite ship because I like the movement speed, because during the really hairy parts where the bullets are dense and you got to move carefully through large swaths of them, even when you're tapping, it can be a little bit hard to not go too far and then go from dodging one bullet to straight into another. But I had my best run with that ship earlier today on casual mode. I'm a little salty about it, and I'll explain why, but I managed to do no miss all the way through stage 4. I had not yet no missed to the stage 4 and the boss. And so I got that achievement on the Steam version today. I had one death in stage 5, but then stage 6 wrecked me, and I got to the stage 6 boss and just auto-bombed left and right. There's some patterns there that I was definitely not prepared for, so that is going to take some practice. But I'm salty about it because I managed to increase my PB again to just over 101 million points. but for some reason, my score did not save on the leaderboard. So I suspect that the Steam version still has a couple of bugs. Was not happy about that.
Couple.
Because I did so well, but it's, I guess it's just the way it is. So anyway, but I am progressing on Rolling Gunner original casual mode. And so I'm not sure how long it'll be before I get the clear on that, but I feel pretty good about it because casual mode is no slouch. I mean, it definitely feels like a big step up from your typical cave novice mode, and it is much more like Crimson Clover's novice mode, where it's easier than the regular arcade mode, but it's no pushover. What about you? What's been your experience with it lately?
Lots of bugs, as you said. So, if I'm playing on the original mode and I leave the Xbox Core controller, sorry, if I leave it laying on the desk and I try and reconnect after about like 20 or 30 minutes or so, it won't reconnect at all, and I have to quit the game.
Oh, weird. So
that's a major problem. That doesn't happen in overpowered mode. Maybe overpower helps boost the wireless signal over there. But as far as Rolling Gunner goes, I've been playing mostly on original. So, and with the blue ship, also the red, as you stated earlier, the blue ship is sort of like the balsa wood ship in Strikers 1942. It's fast and will move very fast, but somebody looks at the thing run, it's going to catch fire. So
yeah,
it's definitely problematic. But at the same time, when you are dealing, well, I should say the game's base is that you go from firing mode to regular firing, which you use for dealing with some of the mid-tier enemies, but mostly it's for hitting popcorn almost out of anywhere really quickly, so that way you can raise your score. And to be fair, that's pivotal when you're dealing with overpowered mode. But when you're playing regular mode, you want to use your quick shot to get rid of and clear the screen of the popcorn, any bullets that it would do, and then you want to use your gunner mode or your focus mode to get rid of any mid-tier or anybody else you're trying to shoot. And it can certainly be hairy or problematic when your ship moves faster in focus shot. It can, it's a double-edged sword. It moves faster when you do it, but it can also cause problems. I have to say that I found it easier to be a blue ship and have a lot better runs, primarily because I move faster in focus mode. The other thing with the blue ship is the shots. I have to double check this, but to me, the shots don't appear to be as narrow. Like if you have the gunner behind you and you're shooting directly straight forward with just your regular shot, it appears to be more focused. Now I know that the yellow ship's supposed to have that feature where it's more powerful but moves slower.
Yeah.
But the blue ship seems to, at least when you're in gunner mode, to have better firepower shooting forward, while you let the gun itself, the rolling gun, shoot behind. The game, the first two stages are with the Spruce Goose, and then the overpowered or angry AI-powered rice cooker that shoots from the building there. It's all about teaching you, like any cave game, right? The first two are all teach about the mechanics. You're going to be dealing with stuff from left to right, so you should know how to maneuver from here. But once you get to that third stage, enemies come from all different angles, and you have to quickly adapt. That's where I think that the overpowered mode, where your ability to just instantly target one of those, almost feels like cheating in some ways, especially that with the bullet cancel.
Yeah.
But as far as I've gotten, I think I've gotten to stage 3 boss, or the beginning of stage 4 with the blue ship as my personal best, and that was playing on original mode.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's difficult. I came back after taking a little bit of time off for playing other games, which, switching over to try and play stuff like the latest Final Fantasy VII. Sounds weird to say latest Final Fantasy VII, but latest Final Fantasy release game, or playing any other type of game, I can definitely feel that if I'm not constantly playing this, the dip in skill is real. So I need to go back and give more time to this, even though I've played probably 8 to 10 hours over the past couple weeks. I definitely like the game. I like the soundtrack. The sound, nothing sounds like washed out. It's not hard to find bullets, even though stuff's coming at you left and right, up and down too in this case. But the one thing I will say is the music, for some reason, seems to be set to 11 by default, and I had to turn it down on several occasions. I don't know what that is. Maybe they're just thinking of people like me and geriatric John Mako and say, these people are going to need to have hearing aids anyways. Let's make sure it's turned up.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I definitely turned it down, both the sound effects and the music in the menu. But when I had my TV turned up earlier, when I played it, it was so loud. So I'm probably going to have to turn that down again, just so I don't have to turn the TV down too much.
I think I do like the game. I think it's definitely a fun game, and it's one of those ones that will start seeing more and more people recommend. I don't really want to call it a hidden gem, but I do know that on one of the latest pickup videos, Metal Jesus talked about it, saying that he loved the game and thanked Reggie for recommending the game. So I think that we'll see a lot more YouTuber word of mouth as the time goes on.
Cool. I mean, the game's been out long enough that it's certainly ripe for recognition.
And the other thing I haven't done is, and I know that Mark MSX did, but I haven't, at least from what I've seen other people play, I haven't seen any issues on Switch. Now I'm playing on Steam, but I haven't seen any issues on Switch, and I know the PS4 version works perfectly well.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably need to fire up one of those and see, how it performs in comparison to the Steam version.
Yeah. I bet you it won't be as buggy, at least.
Let's hope so, because that score thing is a bummer.
Definitely. Alright, well, let's move on to shmup news. Strania EX has been announced for Nintendo Switch. While it's not going to be a one-to-one port of the game, the X-Arcadia version, some features and content from the release will be present in the console version. It's expected to release yesterday. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it release date is January 23rd, 2025.
Yeah, and I want to say there's also a listing. I don't remember. Okay, yeah, so it's just the Switch version that is updated with the EX. The Steam version is still the previous release. Under Defeat is getting an updated release as well, and a Steam page for that game is already up. And also, Clear River Games is working on a physical release of the game, though given the game is set for release on Switch, PS4 and 5, and Xbox Series, it's not clear yet which consoles that the physical version will be released for. And shout out to Bear78 from our Discord, who actually broke this news because he had posted on social media after Clear River announced that they were doing the game, that they were releasing it. He posted back at them and said, "Physical?" And they said, "We're working on it." So that's the reason we can call this official.
Sounds good to me. And also good news, Red Blue Cells from LLK Games is available on Steam. I had a chance to play this, and it's Ghana Blade with the gameplay of Ikaruga. I wouldn't be surprised if this game shows up somewhere. later this year. Especially since it's only $4 normally.
Right. Regular price, $4, $4, $4.
$4, yep. It's even has those hidden cats.
Oh, yes. Yeah, same cats from Gunbird.
They're back with a vengeance.
Nice. Super Star Shooter Classic from AM Factory is available on Steam now. It's a Superstar Soldier-inspired caravan shooter with very similar styling.
Why do you give me the one that sounds like it's made up from somebody's LSD fever dream? A Mola Mola adventure from BB Piece, releasing on Steam January 10th. It's a horizontal damaku that sees you controlling a girl riding atop a Mola Mola fish and using bubbles as a weapon to take out enemies. First we have Mr. Driller, now we have Moana the Shmup.
Moana the Shmup. Previously released Space Harrier-like game Angelion Trigger will be getting a PC release in 2025 and will apparently be translated into English according to an article from Gamatsu.
Retrobit will be doing a physical version of oh boy, darn it, I almost said B-52 Bomber. B-52 Bomber. No, Retrobit will be releasing a physical version of P-47-2, the Freedom Star. You know, I would have also preferred P-47-2 with Freedom Strikes Again. This was a previously unreleased Mega Drive sequel to the first game. The usual partners will be selling the physical release, which is what, Castlemania, Strictly Limited, and Limited Run?
Yep.
Trifecta.
And I've already got my pre-order in.
You know, I have to give Retrobit credit. Their stuff is usually pretty well timed. They have a pretty good system going. Now, Limited Run seems to be a little bit later than Castlemania.
Right.
And I can't speak for Strictly Limited as I haven't ordered from them, at least in regards to Retrobit stuff. But it's one of those things that some people are like, why'd you say this? But I've never seen a delay on.
Right. Yeah, I mean, sometimes they take a little bit longer, but honestly, Retrobit stuff, it's not one of those where you order it and then you get it a year later. It's usually within a few months. Video Games Plus will be selling a Western release of Cider Reloaded for those who would rather not use Strictly Limited games, and the release is expected in March.
Yeah, Video Games Plus is the Canadian place, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they recently did they're not opposed to doing reprints for all sorts of stuff. They did a reprint for, recently for Legend of Heroes on the PS4. They did, way back long ago, they did the reprints for Nocturne for the PS2. I'm trying to think of some of the other stuff that they did. Their Gravity Rush, they did for the PS4. Anything that seems like it might... Xenoblade. They did Xenoblade that found their way into GameStop stores. People were really upset because Video Game TA did a reprint, and they went to GameStop, and GameStop opened these new games and sold them as used.
Yes.
So that way they could get higher markups.
Yes, I remember that.
Yeah. So it's not Video Game Plus fault. No, they've just been doing this for a long, long time, and anytime something becomes semi-rare, they do a reprint, which, that between that and Nintendo re-releasing everything, I swear Donkey Kong Country Returns is going to get ported to the Nintendo Switch 99. It's getting really, really harder and harder to determine what might be worth any value in the future. Because everything just gets reprinted.
Yeah.
As long as there's money to be... I hate to use the phrase, in a world where plumbers don't wear ties can get a reprint, anything's possible.
That's true.
Astroport's new game Randomax will be released on January 16th. I know nothing about this, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's Etrem streamed it recently. It basically has, I would call it kind of roguelite in some ways. As you play and gather the bonus items in the game, and that enables you to pick up certain weapons when you go to the different checkpoints or whatever within the game. It's not like a shop, but it's more like a spot where you go and it presents you with one or more random weapon and item choices, and so you can equip whatever the option is that it gives you to one of the 3 weapon slots. And anyway, it has some interesting ideas going on.
Nice.
Cotton Reboot High Tension has been confirmed for a July 24th launch in Japan. No word yet on Western distribution or physicals. And of course, this is the direct sequel to Cotton Reboot, and so it is not an update to Cotton 2 the way that Cotton Reboot was an update to Cotton 1. This will be a brand new game.
I hear the plot for it is that Cotton runs out of willows. That's why they call it high tension. She's suffering through withdrawals. The MSX version of Xanac is now available on the Egg console service as of January 23rd. Again, we get something that sounds like a drug. Talk to your doctor about Xanac. Maybe have it for me.
Indeed. Gradius 2 Arcade is now playable on the Mister and Analog Pocket thanks to a new core.
Zakichi's new horizontal shmup, Varnix, is now available on Steam. See, that sounds like a drug as well. If you're having trouble sleeping at night, take 2 Varnix.
Yeah. Well, several of Zakichi's games have goofy names like that are a little bit wonky to pronounce. But this looks good. YouTuber Freck has a video up called Plunder, which appears to be a work-in-progress vertical shmup that seems to take heavy inspiration from Galaga, as well as other early 8-bit scrolling shooters. The video is one level of the game with enemy waves, power-ups, and a boss fight at the end. Now, the music in the video is taken from Salamander, which the YouTuber notes in the description, but apparently everything else in the demonstration is original content. And it has kind of a NES MSX style presentation. So I guess we'll see how this develops.
Yeah. Pie Slice announced an update to Crisis Wing coming soon that will include online leaderboards and some color display options, among other improvements. It should be available on Steam very soon. And for this, I say the improvement I need is a very easy mode.
Yes. Cycle Chaser X5 released January 24th on PS4 and 5, Switch, and Xbox, courtesy of publisher Radalaika Games.
The DDP-like Danmaku in development Maros now has a Steam page, as announced by developer Melody on social media.
Yeah, and this looks good. There were some concerns that maybe there was some AI art in use, but Scult from our Discord has been in contact with the developer because Scult is also developing some games, and I guess it's all original hand-drawn art, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, I've been wondering about that too. Like, what happens when AR art just starts taking inspiration from AI art, and we end up with AI art inception? What type of hellscape is that?
A good question. Automenta, the forthcoming vertical shooter from Remorasoft, now has a Steam page to wishlist.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and this is one that I believe was done in Shmup Creator from Bulo Studio, if I recall correctly.
Yeah. Terrarian Games appears to be hard at work on yet another shooter. This time a vertical shmup with a dragon as a playable character instead of a spaceship. You know, they could always take inspiration from iMagic and go with both. You take a Godzilla painted silver, attach some rockets to it, and you're all good.
There you go.
It appears similar to previous titles, but early footage indicates we'll have some new weapon options not seen in previous games, such as bosses you can pick apart. No name has been revealed just yet. Pick apart bosses. That is, I'm trying to think what the first thing I saw with that was. What's the earliest game that allows you to take chunks off a boss? I keep thinking of what's that game that we played for, was it Data East? On there where the submarine and it just kept coming out like Looney Tunes style and having more and more guns. What the heck was that name of that darn game?
Oh, I don't know.
It wasn't a GNet. It was an arcade game with Gulf War 2.
Oh, well, Gulf War 2 was a Korean developer, wasn't it?
No, right, but no, I'm talking about it was like the sequel to Operation Desert Storm, and there are numerous games that talk about that. But no, I'm talking about. I thought it was a DD's title. Maybe it's not. It's all right. I'll find it later.
Oh, wait, are you talking about Grid Seeker?
Is it Grid
that we
Seeker
covered from Taito?
Oh, maybe it was Taito. Okay. Why do I think it was a DD's joint?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe because I thought it was as crazy as Boogie Wings.
It is a little janky.
Oh, jank is good.
Limited Run Games is doing a physical version of Raiden Nova for Switch and PS5, and pre-orders are set to open on January 28th.
Yeah, Raiden Nova is a game that I wanted to like, but it just takes the formula too far for me. I mean, kudos to people who like it. I am not going to detract from it. I just couldn't get into the game. I thought it was sort of like playing your game, and all of a sudden it says, "Hey, look, the Raiden ship is now in Fortnite," and I'm sort of thinking, "Well, okay, I'll try it." No, this just a skin. I don't need a skin. You know, keep your Mariah Carey skins. I'll go back to playing the one with the gameplay I like.
Huh.
Hamster has released Final Star Force via their archives line as of January 22nd. Some performance issues have been already noted in the game. When using 15 Hz or higher auto-fire, a patch to correct this issues is already in the works. Yeah, that's one of the things that I have to say. Hamster has been consistent with their quality of their releases.
Yeah, and they have patched a few issues in some of their other games, because I see those announcements periodically. But this one I think is the most glaring example I've heard of one of their games needing a patch pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, they're not perfect for certain, but as far as making sure that they own up to it and get things taken care of, they've had a pretty good track record.
Yeah. Singularity Strike is a forthcoming vertical shooter from Ruach and MBC Entertainment. It's slated for a January 31st release on Steam. The game appears to use some AI art as part of its design, though that has been disclosed on the Steam page.
Super Technos World is opening in Japan this spring. It'll be right next to Super Nintendo World now. That would be interesting too if they had like a Super Technos World and it had a River City theme park area where you could eat at the shops that Kunio visits.
Yep.
Now, Super Technos World, which is a collection of River City and Technos arcade classics, most of them are Combat Tribes, is a forthcoming release of classic Technos games, mostly centered around the Kunio-kun series, and it's a 16-bit Kunio-kun series in this case. However, one of the games in the collection which has not received a console port in the past is the arcade title Zane Selina, which is a combination run and gun and shmup from the early 90s. It was released in North America as Solar Warrior and did receive some European microcomputer versions where it was called Soldier of Light.
Yeah, this is an interesting little game. I would definitely say it's more of a B tier run and gun kind of thing. But I put a decent amount of time into this in MAME back in the day when I first discovered it. So well worth playing, and I might pick up the Technos collection, not just for this game, but this is certainly this and the arcade version of Combat Tribes is probably enough to convince me to grab it. According to an article from Time Extension, it seems Eartheon from Yuzo Koshiro is close to release. As well, it looks like the game will be releasing on Steam, in addition to the known console versions that are coming. And that is... I saw a screenshot floating around the Discords earlier, but then I saw the same screenshot actually posted by Yuzo Koshiro himself. So I feel like that's probably confirmation enough.
Yeah, I mean, as much as that Steam's gotten some flack with in the news lately for being a monopoly, it is the go-to place for gaming with the Steam OS, gaming traction, as I'm certain people talking about Lenovo Go S. There and well, I mean, I suppose we might as well put here. I'll say the word Switch 2 in here, so that way when someone Googles, we can actually get some hits just because I said Switch 2. But
SEO.
Yeah, EDF. No, the Switch. If the Switch did anything, it proved that there's a valid market for having a hybrid console, right? I don't think that we would see the Steam Deck if the Switch had not taken off. But now we have all this stuff here. We have the Switch 2, the Switch, the ROG Ally, the Lenovo Legion Go, the Steam Deck, and people want a gaming handheld that, whether it has PC-like features or something in there that you can also dock. And I'm curious to see if the Switch 2 does have approximately an Xbox Series S level power, what people can get out of it, and how much of the market share has been eaten away by the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally and the Legion Go. If these people are going to buy a Switch 2, I imagine the majority of the people probably will, but it's interesting that how far we are from the original Switch launch, how much has improved to where we are now. And I'm hoping that Nintendo just comes straight out with some bangers straight out of the gate there.
Yeah.
Some hot jams, so that way we can... I am so looking forward to having a new Mario game. Or, Mario Kart 9, even if it probably 9 out of the 10 courses are for Mario Kart 8. But I'm definitely looking for and to see how things are. And that's rolling back to the previous comment here with Steam, having the ability to play all of these shmups on the go on a portable, whether it be Legion Go, the Steam Deck, Switch 2, what have you, is just great. I don't think that, when I was growing up, these is fantasies or pipe dreams, and the ability to be able to just pick up and play all this stuff is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. That is all the shmup news that you can use, or at least all the shmup news we have.
Works for me. So let's move on to the game that we all played in December, Resogun. And I don't know why, but I got the darn Karma Chameleon stuck. I had it, and it is true for this. You move and shoot. You move and shoot. So I think we already did that one, so I'll push that for a title. So Resogun was developed and published by House Marquee. House Marquee was founded in 1995 and comprised of 2 previous studios that merged together, Termark and Bloodhouse. They were both formed in 1993 and were Finland's first commercial video game studios. Among the earliest releases from House Marquee was a PC version of Super Stardust, a retooling of the previous Amiga shooter Alien Incident, and an isometric PC shooting game called The Reap. House Marquee concentrated primarily on arcade-style games for most of its tenure, releasing many games across many platforms, starting with the PC and then shifting to mostly Sony consoles in the late 2000s. Resogun released in November 2013 and was the launch title for the PS4, and I think probably the most downloaded PS Plus game ever. So many people got PS Plus from their console. You got the free trial and got a chance to try it out.
Yeah, for sure.
Ports for the PlayStation 3 and Vita were developed by Climax Studios and released just a little year later in December 2014. The game was seen as a spiritual successor to the Super Stardust games and took a similar Defender-style approach to gameplay. This is one where you ask people, like, what is this gameplay like? Some people say Defender, and then other people will just throw out all sorts of different titles. There was that Super Nintendo game, was it Jetpack? No, that seems like the rare game. But there was a Super Nintendo Defender game that was PAL only that has the same playstyle. And so does Santa or Atlantean for the TurboGrafx 16. It's definitely well-worn gameplay area, but it definitely works so well.
Yeah.
I mean, how many different things have we seen of Joust-style gameplay?
Right. Yeah, I think you might be talking about, was it Super Drop Zone or something like that?
Yes, I think you're right there. 2 major DLC releases for the game followed. Resogun Heroes, released in June 2014, which add 2 new game modes, additional trophies, and an updated leaderboard, and a new game world. Resogun Defenders, released in February 2015, adding Protector mode and Commando mode to the game. Resogun is unique and it uses voxels for its visual design. Don't tell Minecraft. Instead of pixels, which allow for more immersive 3D look and feel while maintaining classic design that brings the Defender style forward. Yeah, they have messed in the developer interviews. They said they messed with all sorts of different ways to keep. And it's going like, how do we do a visual style for this? And one of the looks was Parodius colors.
Oh, interesting.
Everything was bright and colorful, but they thought it would take away from the visual design of the game, so they ended up going with neon.
Oh.
They also trimmed down some of the stuff that was going there. Is they could have made all sorts of explosions and special effects, but they trimmed those down as well because they figure it would distract from the gameplay, and they wanted to ensure a smooth playthrough. Sadly, the game has never received a physical release that compiles the game and all the DLC together. Yeah, this is one of the ones where you sort of wonder, like, come on, this game really is loved by so many. You would think that doing a physical would be pretty easy to do at the time. If they could do PS3 games, maybe the money is just not there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine that it still sells super well. So you would think that would be a nice way to kind of cap off the game's legacy at this point, being now just over 10 years old.
Yeah, I'm really going to start to feel old when people say, hey, remember the Switch?
Yes. Well, the Switch has been out now for a long time, so...
Yeah, won't, is it next year that... No, not... When was 2018? When was it, 2017?
2017.
Yeah, okay.
So, March this year will be 8 years
Jeez.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so when we got about 2 more years till Nintendo releases in a Super Alarmo, so we can keep going with that. All right, you want to start on the gameplay?
Yeah. Well, as we mentioned, Resogun plays much like the original Defender arcade game, in the sense that you can fly left or right on the playfield at will. Each stage within Resogun serves as kind of a circular arena. And so if you fly left or right far enough, you'll come around to where you started. The primary goal of the game, as communicated to you when you start each stage, is to save the last humans. And in order to do so, there will be enemy spawns known as keepers that you'll need to destroy in order to unlock the human from a little cell that's on the playfield. And then once the human is freed, you rescue that person, and then you take them to these drop points, and there'll be multiple drop points typically on each of the maps.
Yeah, it almost looks like you drop him in the toilet, right? One for the dunny, they say.
Yeah. Drop a human in
the
drop a human in the toilet, and Bob's your uncle.
Indeed. That will be the tagline for this episode. So no, really quick. When it comes to dropping humans in the toilet, so to speak, you drop one, and then immediately after that, you get extra points for dropping the other one. As long as it will show up with blue arrows, or the lines will change to blue, so it's there. In the official strategy guide from House Marquee, they talk about juggling humans so that we can get a higher score. Right, you got 2 going at the same time.
Right. I never tried this, and I read about the juggling, but I never actually attempted to rescue 2 humans at the same time. There were times when I had 2 or even 3 humans out on the playfield at the same time, but I always went and grabbed one, took it to the drop point, and then went back. And I guess for some reason, I felt like maybe I wouldn't be able to accomplish juggling, and so I didn't bother with it.
Yeah, it's definitely not easy to do. And when we were saying the term humans, they look like anybody who's ever seen a walk, don't walk sign. They look like they fell off a walk sign. You shoot some enemies that fall off a walk sign, and you throw them in the dunny. That sounds like explain the game bad, or explain the shmup bad.
Right. But yeah, they do very much look like the kind of stick figure people that you see on a walk or a don't walk sign. And, they're just little green representations of people.
Yep, and it's not always the same way with the keepers, right? Sometimes you have to do them in a certain order. Is that one will be pulsing green, and the rest will be red. If you shoot the red ones, it sort of black holes your chance of freeing that human. What else on there? There's some where we have to meet certain objectives in order to do it.
Right. And most stages will also have a bonus human that you can unlock by meeting different conditions. I think most of the time that's you get the highest multiplier within the stage, and then that unlocks the bonus human.
You get bonus.
I managed to do that a few times.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the main thing about this game is always keep your multiplier going, and it's not as easy as it sounds.
Oh, most definitely not.
The one thing I will have to say regarding the multiplier is it's very nice that they kept the multiplier, the color of the multiplier there to keep you constantly engaged and constantly following through. And so if it's for some reason turns yellow, oh shoot, I better go do something, otherwise I'm gonna lose my multiplier. If it's green, everything's good. If it's red, I better do something immediately or it's gonna break.
Right.
Simple stuff like that provides a very good visual feedback on what you need to do in the game. It will also tell you that you need to destroy the keepers in order to free the humans. So that's definitely the visual effect. Then I don't think we've talked about it yet, but you've got the speed, right? The speed that comes from originally from Super Stardust.
Oh, right.
The speed out there. If you do that, time that correctly, you can damage enemies and then get a speed boost to get away from there.
Right.
Then there's the space laser that you get power up, and I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I may be jumping ahead here.
Yeah,
but...
a little bit.
All right, sorry. I'll let you go continue there. I don't want to jump too far.
Sure. Now, each stage has several phases that you go through, and you'll have a particular set of enemies that will spawn, and then as you take out each enemy group within a stage, then you'll advance to the next phase. Once all phases are complete, and all keeper groups have been destroyed or missed, then that's when the stage boss will appear. Now, as you were just alluding to, you have several abilities that your ships will have. Your main fire, of course, is what you'll use to take out most enemies. And throughout each stage, you'll unlock upgrades to your primary shot that will upgrade its power, its speed, or also its range. One of the nice things is you can fire left or right at any time. So no matter which direction you are flying or facing, you can fire either in front of or behind the craft. And the power-up icons are these little plus symbols. They come down from the top of the screen in these containers, and you just have to shoot the container enough to sort of pop it open, and then that reveals the plus sign. And then once you pick that up, the voice will actually tell you, weapon power up or something like that. The boost ability is what you were talking about there. That's mapped to the L1 button, and that allows you to move very quickly in short bursts. You can ram right through enemies while you're boosting, because you have a period of invulnerability there while you're doing that. Also, boosting through enemies helps you recharge the boost somewhat. And so that's one of the strategies of the game is to boost through groups of enemies and recharge it more quickly so that you can use that to ramp up your multiplier quickly, but then also, stay out of danger.
Yeah, I like to refer to that as a caffeine button. Give me a shot of espresso.
I struggled with this. I don't know what it is, but I had trouble using the boost because I always felt like even though you have invul while you're using it, that dissipates very quickly once you've stopped boosting. It doesn't feel like you have much in the way of iframes when you get done. And so there were times when I used it and I died right away when I let go.
Yeah, and the fact that you have to do it a certain way in order to get the added effect of killing more enemies or a longer tail for this. It's definitely one where it requires a lot of practice in order to get the technique down perfectly. And even sometimes then you're like, I swear I did it correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently when you boost through a bunch of enemies, then when you get done with the boost, you'll get an explosion that happens at the end of that, which can damage more enemies. So, yeah, I suppose it's just a matter of learning when and how to use it effectively. There are also bombs, which is mapped to the R2 button. and that will clear the screen of all enemies. Of course,
Yep, that's a Tex-Mexium clear.
yes, a Tex-Mexium clear. Your bomb stock is limited, of course, but you do earn more through rescuing humans, and so you'll occasionally be awarded with a bomb with that. Bombs will drop your multiplier, and so especially if you're playing for score, they should be a last resort. Now, as you destroy your enemies, they'll drop these little green specks that you can collect. Once you've collected enough, you'll see this full circle around your ship, and you can activate Overdrive, which is mapped to the R1 button. Overdrive makes you invincible for a short time. It slows down time, and basically makes your ship fire out this really powerful laser that can take out everything. And you can really rack up a pretty high multiplier quickly by going into overdrive and then taking out a very large group of enemies. The L2 button you can use to throw the humans. And so, like I said, that feels counterintuitive, but as you approach the drop points, then you can throw from a greater distance to increase the score that you receive for rescuing the human. And as you mentioned, it allows you to juggle a human, especially if you're in the thick of enemies, or you can throw them from a distance to make sure that the human gets rescued and allow you to kind of shift your focus back toward taking out enemies.
Yeah, it's so weird. Look, all right, so what you need to do in here is you need to get good at juggling humans so you can throw them into the dunny and Bob's your uncle.
Yes.
Oh, weird strategy.
There are 3 ships that you can choose from at the start of the game. The Nemesis ship has high agility and moderate boost capability, but has the weakest overdrive. Its overdrive comes in very short bursts, so it doesn't last very long. But the big advantage of the Nemesis is that it can shoot homing missiles once your primary weapon has been upgraded to level 3. And I found this to be the easiest ship to use because of the homing and because of its agility. And in fact, it ended up being the ship that I cleared the game with on 2 of the difficulties. Did you use this ship much?
Yeah, I use Nemesis almost exclusively just because of the homing feature and the high. I don't know why, but I always go for high agility. Sometimes I crash and burn like the balsa wood ship, but I do prefer to stick with stuff that has higher agility. I mean, is flying a paperweight through space just isn't very fun for me.
Sure. Now, Ferox is the average ship, and I believe is the one that is selected by default when you start your game. It has average agility, average boost, and average overdrive. As you upgrade the primary shot, you'll shoot more laser beams at once, and so your ship can cover a wider area, as well as speeding up the shots. I started with this ship because it was the default. I felt like this would be the way to go because it was at least moderately powerful in every respect. But I found that I struggled with it, and so I didn't have that much success with this ship. The Phobos ship has lower agility, making it slower, and has some less boost as well, but it has the strongest overdrive, which means that it will last a lot longer when it's activated. Phobos also has a short-range spread shot as your ship upgrades, and of course that helps make sure crowd control is easier, even with the ship's slower speed. When I was playing, and after I got my clear on the rookie difficulty with Nemesis, I went back and almost got it clear with Phobos. I probably could with just a little bit of work. This ship seems pretty viable, and I want to say that a lot of the score runs use Phobos as well. Have you messed with this ship much?
The Phobos, not so much. I did mess a little bit with the Ferox, but mostly went with the Nemesis. Again, flying a paperweight, even if it can do a lot of damage, is just not usually my wheelhouse.
Sure. Okay.
Resogun has 5 stages in the main game. Once a stage has been reached, it can be selected at any time when starting a new game. Because of the focus on the game is more about scoring than a 1cc, each stage can be chosen with the ship that's most appropriate to maximize scoring for each. Stage 1 is known as Aces. No relation to the computer manufacturer. This boss for the stage is a large circular boss with multiple layers similar to Gradius Big Core. This does sound like a candy bar. That should be a candy bar now. Gradius Big Core. For when you're really hungry, Big Core satisfies. Alright. You need to shoot out each of the shield layers and then allow you to destroy the core in the center of the ship. That creamy center. Alright. Obstructing that goal will be the red shots fired from the perimeter of the boss, as well as jets that fire in intervals that you can box in between and get inside the outermost layer. Remember, kids, there's no wrong way to eat a big core. Stage 2 is called Ceres. The boss of the level starts as a large round mass that spins around. On the edge are several weak points that you'll need to weaken and destroy. Once you destroy one, cannons appear flanking the enemy section. You destroy it and shoots out in bullet spreads. Once all outer weak points have been destroyed, the boss changes configuration and shoots bullet spreads at you while chasing you. After a time, it will turn around, revealing a weak spot at the center of either side. You'll need to damage the weak spot on both sides for massive damage. Giant enemy crabs. Stage 3 is Decima. The boss for this stage is a large red cube that moves around in your direction. When the boss glows, you take one shot at a time and it will spawn large gray cubes. You can shoot these cubes to break them apart into smaller cubes. For survival, you want to avoid this. For scoring, however, this gives you the opportunity to build your multiplier up, so it'll give you more points when you defeat the boss. Stage 4 is known as Febris. This boss is a large gray sphere that follows you around and shoots fast clumps of bullets that will follow you. Try and hone in on your position. As you damage the boss, it reveals a red, gooey center. Once you've done enough damage, the core will explode and the boss is defeated. I wonder, is it a fireball in the center of that one, or do you think it's more like an everlasting gobstopper?
Ooh, I kind of like the everlasting gobstopper idea, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I guess it could be evil candy.
There you go. How many licks to the center of a Febris? Stage 5 is called Befits.
Yeah.
I don't know, many different ways here. This part of the podcast brought to you by the Mark MSX School of Pronunciation. The boss here is a large snake-like swirling mass that floats around and quickly follows your position. It has 4 phases. Each phase is ended by doing a certain percentage of damage to the boss. The first chases you, so you have to keep moving to avoid it overtaking you. The second phase is the boss splitting apart into individual snake segments and darting on the screen vertically in different spots. It telegraphs this by putting red lines down the screen in spots where these large snake segments will spawn. Phase 3 has the snake segments form up in a large mass, which begins shooting large red lines of bullets at you that target your position. The fourth phase has the snake segments separate out again and move laterally towards you through the warp holes. Boss telegraphs this by showing the warp holes outlined in red. If you don't take out the boss quickly enough in Phase 4, it'll turn back into Phase 1, but add bullets from both ends of the joined snake segments, making the fight harder if you're caught on either end instead of flying under the boss and staying between a portion of the body. Rescuing humans results in a number of bonuses. They can be points, upgrading your overdrive, bomb, extra life, shield, which has a time limit but allows you to take an extra hit. There's also random power up as well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it was definitely mentioned in the strategy guide, though I didn't see. I wonder if it's something maybe tied to a certain mode there. I mean, that's the problem with reading the strategy guide. It's got so many different segments for the different modes on there that after a while my eyes start glazing over it. Like, if condition A, subparagraph 2 is like, oh shoot, I already have to do my taxes for this year. Don't add more to it. Huh. This game is asking me to fill out a W-2 form.
Yeah, I never encountered any other upgrades, at least not that I recall playing in the...
No, it's the same upgrade, it's just that they're randomized. Or...
Okay.
So, at any rate, yeah, the game itself, there is enough going on, especially if you're playing for score, that you really have to be constantly juggling and being aware for whether it's juggling humans and throwing them into the dunny, or saving enough of the enemies out there so that way you can get a quick hit off and keep your multipliers things are going through, or if you need to, while it's locked, you have to start, the multiplier's locked as it's going through for the bonus switching stages, you need to stop firing for a moment. There's all sorts of little, or for the speed boots that we mentioned on there as well, there a lot of little things about getting a better score that will have you constantly moving back and forth. It's not easy to do. In fact, they even put in the strategy guides, like, hey, the best thing to do to get a good score, get your multiplier always going. Bad news is, it's extremely hard to do.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, let's talk about the graphics for a moment here. We talked a little bit earlier in saying that the graphics have a voxel look, sort of like a neon Minecraft look. And they look very clean, and it's easy to discern even when things get busy. But it can be a little bit harder when things... For most of the time, it's pretty easy to tell what things are and get a good read of the field. Although there can be some times where things get extremely busy. Like with any shmup, it can be hard to discern exactly where you're supposed to be going. Now, one of the ways that the strategy guide, now again, this is written by House Marquee, spoke about making the game easier or helping with your field of view when you're doing this, is to set off the camera follow and set it on to retro, because that doesn't give you as much of a cylindrical view. It gives you like a flat map, like you'd see on a flat map of the Earth view, which gives you more of the play field to see all at once, which makes the game easier.
So more like the original Defender then.
Correct, you're correct.
Okay. I wish I would have known about that. I guess I didn't explore that in the options. I might have to go back and mess with that a little bit. This is one of my biggest gripes about the game. It's a good game. I like the options. I think it's fun. It's got good gameplay. But there's a lot the game just doesn't tell you. And the fact that the developers had to write a strategy guide telling you this is what this means should tell you, yeah, this game needs some sort of tutorial or something on there. Or tips, or even put the darn strategy guide in as part of the download for the game. Yeah.
You got to have something to teach people about this game. Because it is worthwhile playing. But we'll get into that later.
Sure.
The atmosphere of Resogun is at once colorful and vibrant. As I mentioned, they tried doing different different colorful palettes that end up sticking with neon, which I think is a good design choice and helps it stand out from the crowd. It's colorful and vibrant while also being dark and dreary. It's an interesting contrast that evokes the kind of visual language seen in the original Tron movie. It's reminiscent of the original Defender's wireframe look and is iterating on it quite a bit. Visually, Resogun really showed a step forward on how much smooth graphics could be in a time when next generation system 60 frames per second gameplay with thousands of particles on the screen at once through enemy explosions was impressive at the time and still looks great a decade later. The other part of this too, which they mentioned in the developer interview, was they were so sick of dealing with all the undocumented features in PlayStation 3 and trying to get everything working correctly that they wanted to keep things simpler with the PlayStation 4, and that was part of the reason why it doesn't have as much explosions and all sorts of things that made it. And I agree with it, their decision would detract from the gameplay, right? It would add confusion to the player. So I think they did a great job on this, and it still holds up.
Yeah, I mean there were definitely times in the game early on when I was playing that the particle effects and stuff, there was enough going on with the explosions that it took me a little while to sort of learn how to parse things visually. And even then, there were times when it felt like enemies were spawning right on top of me. And I was frustrated because I felt like I couldn't see it coming. Eventually, I picked up on that and kind of figured out how to watch for that. But it definitely takes some time to adjust to. And the visual language of the game is intuitive, but also is still, takes time to kind of get used to.
Yeah, it's not something. It's something that, what do they call it, easy to start, difficult to master type thing, where at first you're like, okay, I get this, but then it takes so long to go, okay, this is what this really means. Because there are a lot of visual nuances in here, especially when you're dealing with these seekers that you've got to destroy in a particular order. Why are these guys pulsating red? Or why is there a line drawn? What does that mean? Okay, so that's the path that they're going to follow. And if I defeat them all in order, I'm going to get a bonus score. Or I can free the human from here. Or why is this blue arrows pointing towards the city instead of green? One of the modes that the DLC mode title, I wish I had a chance to try it, but it was called Defender mode, and that is reverse missile command. As you drop humans in the dunny, it starts firing out missiles to destroy and defend the city in the middle.
Oh, interesting.
So I thought that was neat. And then there was a commando mode where I think you're playing as the little green guys, little jaywalking humans. So I think, but then, I mean, there's just so many different ways that they spun this gameplay. I wish I had a chance to try all. I know that there was a specially themed created ships. I know there's a Santa one, a Jack-o'-lantern one, all sorts of different stuff.
Huh.
So let's talk a little bit about the sound, and then we'll go into scoring here. The sound effects work well within the game. Your ship's shot sounds aren't too loud or obtrusive, and explosions work well. Other sound effects generally work, and nothing sounds out of place. Yeah, nothing really stood out over the other stuff. Like, all I can think about as an example of something where it stands out versus the rest of the game is Airwolf for the Famicom. Oh, actually, that shot, the ear-piercing shot. And nothing's overblown with the music either. Or actually, it was the explosions, wasn't it, in Steel Vampire, Right, they made it sound like your speakers had been overblown.
Right.
Yeah, music is generally a dark synthwave style that provides good atmospheres for the action, but it's not something that you're going to be listening to outside of the game.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're into synthwave, you might dig it more, but I find a lot of synthwave to be enjoyable to listen to, but not memorable enough to go back to. And I kind of felt the same way about this. It's just not, it didn't grab me that much, but it works for the game. And I guess shout out to the deadpan voice actors who did the voices in the game. You know, Save the Last Humans or Human Lost. You know, very, very basic voices that kind of give you an almost computer voice kind of vibe.
I can't let you save that human, Dave.
Touching on the scoring real quick. The scoring in the game is really down to several elements. First of which, obviously, is going to be destroying enemies. For every enemy you destroy, you increase your multiplier by 0.01. So effectively, for every 100 enemies or targets you destroy, your multiplier is fully increased by 1. The maximum multiplier in the game on the normal difficulty is 15, although it tops out at times 5 for rookie difficulty. And I want to say on the hardest difficulties, maybe it goes up above that. But those difficulties have to be unlocked by beating the game on the harder difficulty. You do lose your multiplier if you die, as to be expected, or if you wait too long between enemy kills. So, as you kind of mentioned before, the keeping your multiplier up and keeping it going can be part of the major challenge going on here. As we mentioned, rescuing humans can provide points, and throwing them from a further distance will give you more score. And as you mentioned, you know, this one of the strategies for maximizing your score is, of course, free all the humans and keep them on the playfield, and then rescue all the humans in quick succession to then, you know, get more points. But of course, that's easier said than done. Using overdrive at the right time is also key to scoring. Building up your multiplier to a high level and then activating overdrive when there is a ton of enemies on screen really will help you net a lot of points in a short amount of time. And then, of course, destroying enemies quickly to keep your multiplier high, saving humans, destroying your power-up containers, boosting through enemies, etc. These are all ways to keep your multiplier up and score big points. Now, as I mentioned before, the Phobos ship has the longest lasting overdrive, and that's one of the reasons why it is generally the top ship on a lot of the leaderboards, because you can maximize its overdrive to take out more enemies and rack up a higher score and higher multiplier. It's generally thought that overdrive against bosses is not really a scoring trick, but with the stage 3 boss, once you let a lot of those gray cubes out, if you've charged your multiplier or your overdrive, you can of course use that to quickly take out a lot of those gray cubes and build your score up pretty quickly. And I guess I didn't realize this, but you can boost during overdrive as well. And so once you've taken out a section of enemies, you can then move further along in the stage to mop up another group of enemies with the remaining overdrive. And from what I understand, if you boost while you're in overdrive, the overdrive meter pauses or stops depleting while you're boosting. So it's a handy way to really maximize the use of your overdrive in that sense. Some of these scoring techniques I definitely did not employ. I was pretty basic with my approach, but this really feels like a game that in order to get the most out of it, you really need to engage with these systems and utilize them to their fullest extent.
Yeah, let's just say I was not very... I'm certain someone like Mark MSX would probably say, oh yeah, it's easy, it's just like a fighting game, you're just going to be doing juggling combos in order to get everything going. I just tossed the humans in the dunny, bro.
Right.
Going for high score was something, no, I was not doing. Alright, so let's move on to impressions of the game. We'll start off from Skosh. Gave it a quick blast earlier. It's a lot of fun. A bit like Choplifter somehow, not what I was expecting. See, here's another person, Choplifter, Defender, Stargate, whatever the heck the game that we mentioned here, Jetpack Joyride, Jets and Guns, something on that way there, whatever. Alright, made my PS4 chug a little though. Got a rookie clear with my exclusive shield-made ship. Don't really want to go back to harder modes. I find the rescue RNG is a bit frustrating. Some of the bullet dodging doesn't feel that great. I did have fun with it, but it didn't compel me to dig deeper. I spent more time recreating the shield-made ship than play this, I think.
Yeah, it was kind of cool to see that ship recreated in voxels, because Scoush posted a pic in the Discord of that. That was pretty cool. Mimo said, probably one of the more graphically impressive Vita games. Yeah, and I do believe that Mimo was the only one playing on the Vita, so it was nice to have that perspective, throughout the month.
Indeed, yeah. I wonder if anybody played on the PS3.
Yeah. Let's see. Added Resogun notes to my site. The higher the difficulty, the faster you'll lose your multiplier. That's good to know. To save yourself from a pickle, use boost, overdrive, or a bomb. This is the priority order my brain uses from left to right. Save as many humans as you can. They give you extends and bombs. Boss 2 tips: staying between bullet shooters on the first phase and nicking the weak spots, and staying under and using short boosts to outmaneuver the laser on the second. And this is specific to veteran difficulty. If enemies stay alive for too long, they will turn orange-yellow and become more aggressive, sometimes leaving the playfield entirely instead. The higher your difficulty, the more they'll stay and not leave. Stuff I missed. The game tries its best not to spawn enemies on top of you, and will even pause the spawn animation of an enemy if you're overlapping it, but be careful with ground turrets and ceiling stuff. Listen for the announcer cue, Keepers Detected, for Keeper Waves, as the moment you hear it, the Keeper Wave will spawn in close to your position at that moment, unless it is one of the puzzle waves requiring Keepers defeated in a specific order, or it's a big wave of normal enemies as Keepers, which will have set spawns you won't usually miss. Later on, Boss 2 is an incredible difficulty spike in the wrong place on Veteran, because Boss 3 is a cakewalk by comparison, and 4 to be honest. I haven't seen Boss 5 yet, because I can't do Stage 5 well enough on Veteran. They stripped a lot from the Vita version. No custom ships or bonus modes that I can see. And then final post here. Rookie scoring run. Lost 2 humans total. One got dunked. The other was a bonus human lost due to multiplier. No deaths until final boss, which is impressive, particularly if you're playing on veteran difficulty.
I'll take this very long post from Mr. Vastille here. Should still have this one on machine. If I do, I might do a quick attempt. Well, hopefully you were able to give it a shot. Thank you.
Yeah. Schlarp says, I thought I will just quickly unbox my PS4, connect it to the TV, and buy Resogun for some sessions this month. First part worked well, but I cannot sign in. To make it worse, the associated email does not exist anymore. I can contact support on Monday to recover my account, and it takes just 2 weeks until I have time for playing. My life. I don't know that Schlarp actually got the game before the end of the month, so that's kind of a bummer, but...
Well, you know what we'll do for him is we'll take the music from the end of The Incredible Hulk, the original one with Lou Ferrigno.
Oh, yeah.
As he's going down the side of the road, trying to hitchhike, we'll play that music for him. Hopefully, by the time the music's done playing, he will have got his account recovered.
And now I'm like trying to conjure up that music in my head. I heard it so many times as a kid.
Well, hopefully you got your account back and you're at least able to play some Resogun. If not, hopefully enjoy some over-the-top acting of Sylphid.
There you go.
Eat Electric Dust says, I've beaten this game on Novice and Experienced now, and it's really good. No 1cc yet, but might get that on Veteran. There's also some paid DLC game modes, but I haven't gotten those yet. Some early game tips, your lives and bombs are separate, so use them wisely. You are invincible while boosting, and boost recharges quickly, so make use of that. Saving humans is strictly not necessary, but it's the only way to earn lives, bombs, and shields and upgrades. Yeah, that was also given in the strategy guide. It said, hey, if you want to get a good score, you can also just not save humans and sort of juggle them around, but you also won't get any power-ups. Learning to effectively use your boost is key to optimal play in saving humans. Currently stuck on the stage 2 boss on Veteran. Yeah, it's a huge jump from the lower difficulties, and it becomes a real jerk. On level 1 boss is basically unchanged aside from getting more health. Veteran is a hard difficulty. On Novice and Experienced, the bosses go down super quick, but every difficulty gives up them more health, bullets, and other upgrades. My current goal is to beat all the stages on Veteran and try to get 1cc on the same difficulty. Master and Hero might be too much for me, apparently added revenge bullets.
Oh man.
I'm also thankful that I did not read it as vegan instead of vegan mode.
Yeah, and that's a good shout from Eat Electric Death on the bosses, because yeah, on Rookie the bosses pretty much just have one phase, and then when you go to Experienced, then they have 2 phases, and so yeah, it's a nice way of differentiating the bosses between the different difficulty modes. So it's not just the same experience, but with more health or more bullets or whatever. They actually do more to change it up.
It's certainly obligatory. That's not even my final phase here.
Right.
Later on, he says, currently stuck on... Wait, sorry, I did that one already, right? Yep. Later on, he says, Novice 1cc and Experienced 1cc. GG, sir.
Yeah.
My last goal for the month is to beat all levels on Veteran and at least attempt a 1cc on it. Still have no idea what triggers the secret humans. I have used the red chip for these, by the way. Secret humans. Yeah. There are certain stuff that will trigger. So I think it mentioned multiplier is the biggest one that needs to be done. But then there's also other items where you have to shoot them in a certain order or destroy certain enemies in order to trigger it. There's a little bit more in the strategy guide, but it basically says, hey, figure this out for yourself. It's a secret to everybody.
Huh.
It's dangerous to go alone. Take this. Resogun is definitely an anti-bombing game. Bombs are very powerful, but also very limited, and using one is likely to kill your score multiplier too. Instead, you're supposed to use boost or overdrive to get out of various situations. Yes. Especially boost. Bosses become more difficult on the higher difficulty levels, but not in obvious ways. On Novice, they're all pushovers, but experience the third boss becomes the hardest one, while on Veteran, it's the second one. Fourth boss is really easy and simple. You get more points for human the farther you throw them and juggle them before depositing. Yeah, insert your NBA Jam. He's on fire. All stages beaten on Veteran, not 1cc. I think Nemesis, the red chip, is the best of the standard ones. The agility and homing shot more than make up for the worst overdrive gauge. I made it to Veteran Stage 5 with Phobos earlier, not a 1cc attempt, but then it just became impossible. That stage throws so much bleep at you, here, let me rephrase this. That stage throws so much Kusoge at you that you constantly have to be mobile. Funnily enough, the last boss itself is a non-issue once you figure out its phases and how to deal with them. Yeah, we've all been there when the Kusoge hits the window.
Indeed.
Did my final runs today before I leave to meet friends for New Year's. Ferox Rookie 1cc, Nemesis Run Master, and Final Nemesis Veteran 1cc attempt. As well as Platinum Trophy for the game. Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
You know, Nemesis Master and Final Nemesis Veteran sound like MSX Gradius titles.
Huh.
I have to revise my ship ranking a bit. Nemesis might be the easiest ship, but the others have more score potential. My Phobos score run completely blew up my Nemesis score run out of the water. Managed to save all humans on that run too. Master difficulty is miserable. The revenge bullets are a huge pain in the patukas, or butt, in a game where you're often killing enemies at point blank range. Overall, I really enjoyed my time with Resogun and was definitely one of my favorites this year. Shmup trophies on PS4, PS5 tend to be pretty easy. Mostly M2 collections are insanely difficult. Looking at you, Ikaruga. M2 stuff lets you use save states and whatever settings you want. Well, Ikaruga demands absolute mastery of the game if you ever want to see the plat.
Huh.
Well, I think the same for here is show me the plat. As Jerry Maguire said.
DL Wraith, who was a newer member to the Discord, joined in and said, turns out I've been off Resogun too long. A paltry 7,093,140 out of 3 tries. You have my permission to point and laugh. I know I did. I'll be back tomorrow. The last human needs to be saved. Look at his little skeleton bones. And then later on, DL Wraith said, okay, so I was sucking so bad I dropped a rookie for practice. Imagine my surprise when I immediately got the clear. Hint, Nemesis weapon has a strong homing component when powered up, and when your chain is threatened, boost. When you come out of boost, you blast everything immediately around you, clearing bullets as well as popcorn enemies, so aim to let go of boost when in the middle of a small cluster or towards the edge of larger formations to ensure clear survivability. It helps. I was using a custom ship, Galactica Viper Mark II, stats at 7, 6, and 2. Also, don't underestimate how helpful the slowdown when using the overdrive beam is. It can give you a moment to orient yourself towards the next human pickup if you get lost in the voxels. Remember though, I suck. So take everything I say with a dose of skepticism. Oh yeah, one last tip that helped me. Lob humans on all levels except 4. Allows you to turn and burn quicker with human juggling is funny, but not a strat to rely on. And then later on, looks like experience mode is giving me a harder time than I'd like. 17.4 mil on that last run. Doing better with my custom Phoenix ship in its 4-bit glory. Stats at 6, 8, and 1. So some varied opinions there on the game throughout the month. Looking at the scores real quick. On the rookie difficulty, Heat Electric Death completely decimated the rest of us with a staggering 143,991,910 points. Mimo came in second on the Vita, of course, with 50,899,580 points. Then DL Wraith with 45,035,930 points. And I came in last with a Nemesis at 36,542,250 points. The only scores that I saw in the Discord for experience difficulty for myself and DL Wraith. So if there were others that I missed, please someone let me know. But I got 27,340,470 points with Nemesis. And then DL Wraith did 17,452,040 points. And Heat Electric Death was the only score posted for Veteran at 26,520,480 points. Final thoughts on this game?
Final thoughts by Jack Andy. No, final thoughts on this game. I think the game is great for pick up and play. It's definitely one of those things that's easy to play but hard to master. There is a lot going on, especially when you're trying to go for high scores. Not so much if you're trying to go for survival, but that and when you add the DLC, it seems to add 16 different modes all at once. You know, it's a lot of game and a lot that you can do with it, especially designing your own ship. It's one of those games that I see myself going back to and playing for maybe 10 to 30 minutes and then moving on to something else. It's very good for pick up and play sessions, which, you know, seems to be a perfect fit for the handheld. If they were to release it on the Steam, I think it would go for a Steam Deck, or if they were to do Resogun Reloaded, which I'm certain that name's already taken. I can't. No one who thought of that one, but they did Resogun Reloaded. And you can put it on the Switch. I think it would do well. I think more people will buy as well. It's one of those games that the gameplay itself is evergreen. It's just the way it looks and some of the extra stuff that you add onto it, which in this case is the scoring system. And the only detriment I have against this game is a lot of the stuff isn't self-apparent. And I think we see that with shmups now, where it's sort of you don't have to, but except for maybe Gunbird, but it forces you to go, here's how the game plays. We're going to make certain that you know what you're doing, and then we're just going to let you go play. All right, here's a quick tutorial. Here's what this thing does. And I think that this game was before that became common. So that's why they had, and looking at the reviews for this game, that was one of the biggest issues, is people didn't understand what the heck they were supposed to be doing. And even with with just sticking to arcade mode, it can still be hard to figure out what all this stuff does. Like, one of the things I learned out of the strategy guide was, as soon as the enemies appear, that's when they've got the most value. Immediately after that, they're going to start counting down.
Oh.
And it's not pasted anywhere except for on the official website by the developer. if this had come in as a PDF or some sort of attachment to when you bought the game, explain how it was, or even better yet, a tutorial mode, I think that this game would have gotten more traction than it already did. And to be fair, this game did get a ton of traction because there wasn't a lot of PS4 launch games. Right? This is the first game that everybody got on PS Plus.
Yeah.
So I think it did very well. I think it's still a game worth playing. I just think that they should do two things. One, add a tutorial mode, and B, port it to something modern like the Switch. Probably the Switch out of all, now I think about it. You know, Switch or Steam, maybe both. So you can get it, because it really is one of those portable pick up and play type games. Or you can, I guess, try on a phone, but could you imagine juggling the humans and all this stuff with the phone touch controls?
Oh, right.
You know, right? You almost need dedicated controls for that. But I think it would be perfect for the Steam Deck, or for whatever Microsoft's doing, or for the Switch or Switch 2. I think that they should go back or do a collection of it, right? Super Stardust and Resogun. Put that out, and I think it would sell pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I have to give props to Housemarque for helping to keep the genre relevant in some way during a period when there just wasn't a lot going on. You know, this was kind of post cave relevance, because I believe SDOJ was the final cave arcade shooter that came out, and aside from some console releases, you know, there wasn't a lot going on. And of course, this was several years before what I would consider the shmup renaissance, which kind of started around the time that that we started our podcast. I really feel like that's about the time the genre started to really see a resurgence in some ways, because you started to see more indie developers jump in and release games. You had the Electric Underground and our podcast popping up at the same time. And I remember Mark talking about trying to get more people into shmups, and all of a sudden the housekeeping. Yeah, have I talked to you about shmups? Right.
But yeah, a lot of this talk around that time was about how do we get people into shmups. And I think, I mean, if you look at, you know, you say you got to really have the right timing and then to your point, if we talk about Studio Mudprints or Sir Flash or Ed or whatever he would like to be called, you know, it was almost too early for that. And, you know, by the time we had the shmup relevance around that time, it sounds weird, but as we're talking about, I think that Studio Mudprints missed the boat by being too early into shmups. Is that sound right? They missed the ability to hit it big, and Shmup Junkie had that right timing. And even Mark with the Electric Underground started right before, so he could ride that tsunami wave. In this, it's so weird. Yeah, this is right after SDOJ and DFK. And really, everyone was talking about what was fun, and nobody really had an idea what next shmup area would be. People were trying Vertizonal. You had a couple of indie developed shmups here, but nothing where the plethora of titles that we get here. I mean, nowadays it's like, I will just look at our news section. The amount of games that are coming out with the resurgence. You know, because I think Mark MSX pointed out to the shmups being by their very nature a pick up and play. has really got in a way for people to get a quick fix.
Yeah. And
sorry, I didn't mean to talk over your point there.
And I think that Resogun, having been a launch title for the PS4, might have been one of the precursors to what I see as the shmup renaissance that kind of started in and around 2017, 2018. And so Resogun definitely preceded that, but it might have been one of the catalysts that helped to plant that seed to begin growing the audience again. Because like you said, this was kind of the launch title for the PS4 that everybody played. And of course, I was way late to the PS4 party. I didn't get my PS4 until February of 2018. But had I bought a PS4 on launch, because I was a fan of the genre, I probably would have bought Resogun digitally, and I probably would have played the heck out of it. And, I think it speaks to the quality of the game that we picked this up a decade later, and, we're able to kind of jump right in. I didn't get to play it nearly as much in the month of December as I would have liked. I mean, I think I only streamed it about a half a dozen times, which is unusual for me, but I was just so busy that it was hard to prioritize and actually get the time to stream it and play. But it was enough for me to clear the game on rookie and experienced with the Nemesis ship, and certainly it was enough for me to get a pretty good flavor for the game. I'm not enough of a score chaser to feel like I want to go back and try to vie for a really high score and learn all the techniques and stuff. But I think it would be cool to go back and try to get a Phobos 1cc at a minimum. And just mess with it a little bit more to see what else I can do. But yeah, I'm kind of with you in the sense that I could see this being a game I could pick up and put anywhere from 5 to 25, 30 minutes into it and feel pretty good about knocking out a couple of levels and rescuing some humans and whatnot. And then, it's the kind of game that then I could feel some accomplishment playing and then put it away and move on to something else and come back to it some while later and do it all over again. But it's not a game that has motivated me to dig in deeper and really understand the scoring mechanics at a much deeper level.
Yeah, I think we would classify this as a bite-sized shmup.
Yeah, it's a bite-sized shmup that has a lot going on under the surface, and there's a whole lot that you can discover and glean from this game if you really want to put the time in and dive in. But you don't have to do that in order to enjoy the game and get kind of the basic experience out of it.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely something worth checking out if you like Defender or like gameplay. It's a well done version of that, and the scoring mechanics allow you to do a deep dive if you'd like.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to our top 5 of 2024. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, I'll start with my honorable mention for the year, and that's Never Awake. which we played in October as our spooky game. And this was, as you mentioned to me earlier, this was a nice breather, a nice breath of fresh air after the difficulty that was Crisis Wing. It was a very different experience, a very different approach. And again, because I'm not a big score chaser, it's the kind of game that I don't feel like I would go back to a lot. But it was a unique experience that was largely enjoyable, some frustration, but ultimately it had some cool stuff going on, some good qualities, and I enjoyed the atmosphere of it. Do you have an honorable mention for the year?
I think I would have to put Never Awake probably as the honorable mention. Just because I like it. It's quirky enough and it's got something different going on. But it's one of those things that you have to be sort of in a certain mindset for ordering it or playing it. It's sort of like when you get a specific food craving and you say it's got to be this, and you think, well, that was a weird craving. Why all of a sudden did I want Cheetos with Mountain Dew milk or something like that? That was weird, but you know what? It certainly hit the spot at the time. It's definitely one of the ones that if someone says recommend me a shmup, it's not going to be something they're normally going to say. But it says if I played all this stuff, I want something different. So yeah, have you tried this?
Yeah, I could see that.
And if you are eating Cheetos with Mountain Dew milk, please seek professional help.
Yeah. My number 5 for the year is GGLS 3. This is one of those games where I was kind of frustrated with it because it took me way longer to clear than I wanted. But at the end of the day, this is a big flex for M2 because they really made an impressive game that does quite a bit. And it takes the spirit of the original games that they were trying to emulate and just takes it that much further and iterates on the formula enough to not only make it feel like the previous games, but also surpass them in a number of ways. I always found GGLS 2 impressive, and GGLS 3 just takes that and says, hold my beer, and really just flexes big time. And so that game definitely wowed me early on. What would you say your number 5 for the year is?
Number 5 for me would probably be Glaylancer. It's one of those titles that I really like, but at the same time, I think that they just it's sort of the similar experience I had to Dracula X for the PC Engine. So many people told me how great it was. By the time I got to it, it's sort of the hype that had been built up sort of killed it for me. I still think it's a great game. I think it's one of the best that Genesis has, or Mega Drive in this case. But it's just the hype had been built up for so long that it couldn't possibly live up to the expectations. That said, I still had a great time with it and thought it was pretty impressive for the Mega Drive, and definitely would go back to it.
Nice. Yeah, my number 4 is a little bit of a cop-out, but I had to include Tyrion on my list because it's been such a nostalgic game for me for so many years. And honestly, coming to it this year and really focusing on the arcade mode renewed my appreciation for the game to some degree, while at the same time revealing some of the game's flaws that maybe I had glossed over before, because every time I play through this game, I always tend to focus on the story mode, because part of the charm of this game is some of it is in the jank, but also the game's ridiculously over-the-top and bloated complex story is part of its appeal. It's probably the most story-heavy shmup of all time. Or if it's not, it's certainly close. It's in the running. And of course, the game's great visuals and fun soundtrack are all part of that. But yeah, it just continued to remind me why I got addicted to the game all those years ago when in the shareware days when I downloaded the demo and just played that endlessly. And so I'm glad that we finally played it for the show, and
yeah,
put some major time into it.
Yeah, Tyrion is one, even though it's not on my list, it's definitely a game that I'm glad I was at a chance to. I was sort of pulling one of those Leonardo DiCaprio memes when I saw that at Lazy Game Reviews section for the Long Island Retro Gaming Convention, when that was on several computers at once.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, definitely a good choice for me. Number 4 would have to be Gigi Aleste, all 1 through 3. I definitely, this one stands out mostly because it is a change from the norm from what we usually play. It was something different, and definitely enjoy each one of the Gigi Alestes. Had different gameplay and different variants. They all had the little iframes that you had to collect, of course, but each one felt very different from anything else that you would normally play, and it was enjoyable to, if you're eating hamburger, all of a sudden says, "Hey, you have a pizza." Like, this is pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Well, my number 3 game is Gunbird. I had a feeling I was going to like this one, and I was right. I definitely got pulled into this one, and while the higher difficulties I still find daunting, I enjoyed the mechanics. I enjoyed the variety of weapon choices between the different ships, and I feel like even though the dev is taking a lot of elements that have been done already and sort of copying and mildly iterating on those, it was just executed well enough that it really, really stuck with me. So yeah, Gunbird is my number 3.
Yeah, Ghana I'll talk a little bit more about later, but it definitely knows what it wants to be and has takes all the pieces to make a well-conceived whole, even though I swear it rips off most of the sound effects from the Konami library.
Right.
So my number 3 has to be Pocket Rocky. I own the Super Nintendo and I definitely played Kiki Kai, but it's something that I wasn't quite expecting. I just played a little bit of, but I didn't realize all the different stuff that was done to the game. I think it took the Digital Foundry video as well as seeing some of the differences on what it was with the Super Nintendo version to get a better appreciation for what it was. I mean, I initially had a why can't Metroid crawl moment for this, and I came away realized, okay, this control scheme does make sense. I see what they're doing here. and have a deeper appreciation of the game itself. I still think it's probably one of the most accessible shmups, even if they make you pay to unlock a local multiplayer.
Yeah, it's one that I enjoyed. I had some frustrations with it. I don't know if I would go back to it as readily as some of the others, but yeah, I most definitely got enjoyment out of that. My number 2 is our focus shot game for last year, Espagaluda 2. And I say this with the caveat that I didn't spend nearly as much time as I would have liked on the actual arcade mode. I spent most of my time in the other modes. And while I never did get my clear of Black Label, I came so close that I almost feel like I could have, or I will at some point, if I go back to it and put in some time. And something about this game compelled me to keep coming back to it, compelled me to keep trying and keep playing, even though I would come home from work and I would sit down on the couch and play for 45 minutes or an hour, and I would get frustrated with stupid deaths or bad decisions, and things like that while I was playing. But I just kept going back and going back and going back. And I don't know. It's just a weird situation where something kept pulling me back into the game, pushing me forward to keep trying and keep improving. And I did. Like I said, I didn't get my clear on Black Label, but I got real close. And I feel like this game has helped me quite a bit to up my game in terms of my raw Danmaku skill set. And so I'm grateful for all the hours I put into this game over the last year and for what it has done to help me further adapt to playing these types of games.
If you asked me at the beginning of last year, would Espagaluda 2 be on my list, I would have said yes. The reason why it's not on my list right now is because I think I just got too much cave for me at the moment. Some people will say, what? We did Mushi, we did Espagaluda 2, there we did Ketsui. There's just, and I was still, even with games that aren't put on, I mean, I've been playing some DFK on there. I just played so much cave style games that they all started to blend together, and getting a little sick of it. Now, I say that, but then of course I could play Futari any day of the week. But it's just too much of the same style, and I needed a break into some, which is why I'm glad we're doing Rolling Gunner. I started out, this is great. Because I do like the game, and I still do, but I hit a wall on the arcade mode on around stage 4, and I just kept hitting that wall over and over again. And unlike the Kool-Aid Man, I could not boost through. So after a while of completely ramming my head into that, it just soured me on it and I think I just need a break for cave games. That said, if SDOJ goes on sale or Futari comes out on Switch, hey, I'm there. But the style of gameplay, I need to step back and play something else for a bit. I can't I can't just survive on cable. Oh, not only that, I was playing DOJ, right? The remake for PS4 and Switch. So
right.
It's just a lot of cave, and variety is good. So my number 2 pick, surprisingly, is Gunbird. Gunbird was one of those ones that I was like, yeah, Mark says it's good, I'll try it out. But I was impressed by how easily accessible it was, at least on the normal difficulty, and how well the package was put together. It's got music, it's got this visual effects. It feels like it sort of captures what you expect a game to be. It's got that retro look and the retro sound with modern aesthetics, and it's pretty hard to do. I think the only other company that I've seen do that successfully was Super Yacht, right? The people who made Shovel Knight,
right?
And that's why, again, when I played the red versus blue laser game, I can't, we talked about earlier, I can't even remember, but their latest title, Red Blue something.
Oh yeah, Red Blue Cell.
Yeah, Red Blue Cell. Yep. That I was immediately like, hey, this is about the same thing, but I could definitely stomach this, because the sound effects in that game are just, again, like Contra sound effects or Konami sound effects. The cats are there, but at the same time, the gameplay itself is Ikaruga, right? You use red when red bullets, use blue when it's blue, and soak things up. They know their audience. They know what works well, and it forms a pretty good package out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, it was something that was new but old, and something that was not retreaded ground. So, again, it worked out pretty well, at least in my opinion.
Yeah. I don't think it's a huge shocker for me to say that my number 1 game for the year is Darius Gaiden. Playing this game over the summer, I had long been a fan of this since I bought it in 98 or 99 for the Saturn. But I'd never really been super serious about it. And playing it this last year really renewed my enjoyment of the game and elevated it in my mind, because what I saw before as a somewhat approachable but also very difficult game suddenly became something that, because of all the years of people playing it and documenting different things about how to approach the game, suddenly the way was open, and I was able to get in and do multiple clears in the game. And one of my proudest moments in terms of shmupping of all of last year was the run that I did where I got to go through and beat Titanic Lance. Even though that's not the final boss in that particular run, it's one of those things where basically the entire stage is that boss, and there are so many layers and levels to it that it is a difficult fight. But I figured out how to do it, and I made it happen, and I just felt really good about it. And so a game that I already enjoyed and whose soundtrack is legendary and one that I've listened to many, many times over the years, but a game that I finally dug into at a level that I feel like I finally done this game justice, and it paid dividends. And so, yeah, Darius Gaiden, without a doubt, my favorite of the shooters that we played last year.
Excellent. Anybody who's been following the podcast for a while will know my game of the year, and that has to be Deep Space Waifu. No. I also picked Darius Gaiden for favorite game of the year.
Nice.
And I think in the absence of G. Darius, this game stood out the most. Now, I really did like Darius Burst. I thought it was an excellent game. I think it's well played with friends and a giant projector. But it doesn't hold a candle to Darius Gaiden. And it's sort of a toss-up. I keep going back and forth. Do I like G. Darius or do I like Darius Gaiden better? But it's G. Darius we played earlier, so it's not in the running for this one. So Darius Gaiden just has so much going on for the weird sounds on there, the sound, I mean, like all of a sudden it just kicks in and we've got opera singing as you're going through a level. And there's some of the visual effects that were there. It just goes out of its way to really show you this is something new. And we talked about shmup renaissance earlier. This is sort of, to me, like this era is another shmup renaissance, where we have this, we have G. Darius, and we have Gradius Gaiden. And I almost said guys, darn it. Too many E names, Einhander.
Oh, yeah.
That shows that, right? People are trying stuff new and different. And just because you have sprites in there doesn't mean that you can't have polygons, too, where things are maneuvering all around the screen. It was definitely a new and experimental time. And you wouldn't see that type again until... let's see here. So the PlayStation Saturn was a shmup renaissance, but the PlayStation 2, outside of maybe Gradius 5, really wasn't, right? There wasn't that many shmups that I can think of that are memorable on the PS2. And they're saying PS3, there really wasn't that much either, because most of it landed on the 360, and that was mostly Japanese only. By then, that was sort of the end of that shmup renaissance. We should really map this out one time.
Right.
The end of that shmup renaissance that started out with the tail end of the start with the PlayStation. I wonder the second shmup renaissance, but it really is Taito knowing what the heck they're doing and showing off and having the budget to do so. Really a game well worth playing. And I know, let's see here, you can play it on I play on the Cosmic Collection, but correct me if I'm wrong, it came out on the Saturn, and there was a PlayStation port, wasn't there?
There was.
Okay. What would you say would be the definitive way to play this? Would you go with Saturn, or do you think you would go with the Cosmic Collection?
I would definitely go with the Cosmic Collection, in part because it has the save state capability, which certainly will help in terms of practicing some of the bosses or trickier sections. The Saturn version is definitely good. But yeah, the Cosmic Collection Cosmic Collection is definitely the definitive way to play it, I think.
Yeah, and I have to say the Darius Gaiden, even if you play the first stage, it leaves a striking impression with the Golden Ogre.
Absolutely.
All right, so tell me, what's your favorite game of 2025, and tell me why it's Sylphid.
Well, yeah, foreshadowing.
Yeah, as we're recording this, belatedly recording this, we currently playing Sylphid with cameos by everybody. It's got the B-52 bomber guy in there. It's got your Tex-Mexing cowboy. And it's got your overly British dude. Isn't that what he's credited in the credits of the game? Overly British dude.
Maybe so.
So, yeah, and then in February we're going back to the Neo Geo with Resogun EX.
Kind of.
Definitely go to the eShop for this one, because buying a physical is not cheap.
Oh no, yeah.
And then in March, we are playing Kawaii Tiger.
AKA Twin Cobra.
Yep. So that will be a good way to get things started for spring.
Yep.
So I'd like to shout out Etrem for the logo, Redbubble for the podcast shirts, as well as the disappearing, reappearing hats, Boss Pro hats. I'd like to thank Kogosu for the intro and outro music, and I'd like to thank everybody who plays the games with us on a monthly basis. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you. Hey, what can I say? We get it. Thank you, everybody, and here's to a brand new year.
Yeah. Well, the like, comment, and subscribe thing I know is funny, but actually, since the podcast is beginning to get traction on my YouTube channel, since that's where I've got the feed going there as well, that's what I'm posting when I post about the podcast in various Discord servers and stuff. I'm linking the YouTube video version because that seems to get some fairly good engagement. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel and podcast videos.
Hey, if you start an OnlyFans, I'm out.
Yeah, that's probably not happening.
It's just pictures of your dog.
Yeah, there you go.
Only dogs.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Hope you have a good start to the new year and continue playing shmups with us.
Yep. Thank you for listening.